Hello, 704-457, no, 572-5617.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. This is Julius Rogers, better known as the credit doctor. So I said I'll join the call. I texted him, told him I'll join the call and then come in next week and meet you all face to face.
Oh, okay, awesome. Good deal. Welcome, Julius.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Good morning, Jada. I'm sorry. Good morning. It's been a long day. Good afternoon, I should say. We miss you in the office today.
Hello?
Oh,
Hello?
there you are.
Hey!
Hi.
I'm like trying to hit the button and I'm like, I can't unmute it.
How are you today?
I'm okay. I have my car back today, so I will be in the office tomorrow morning.
Okay, good deal. All right.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
Mhm.
Welcome back to Wednesday. Hi, Eleni. Hey, Julius, where are you from?
Originally from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, how long you been in Charlotte?
Close to 10 years now.
Okay. Are you new to real
But
estate?
uh, no, I'm not. Because
Okay.
I'm on credit, so I work with a lot of different realtors individually. So you know, I turn time, I get the client, depending on what's on the credit, right? But typically, most clients start to see strong results somewhere between that 90 days to 6 months, like, unless they got something like extreme, like a bankruptcy or something. But yeah, so been here close to 10 years now, from Cincinnati. Before moving here, I was living in Louisville, Kentucky. Went to Wright State University, then transferred to Kentucky State University, where I finished up school. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and I live here in the South Park area.
Okay. Well, good. Well, welcome to Contract to Close. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome, Anna Lee and Lisa and Yadi. Mhm.
Hey. Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Hi. How was your day in Charlotte?
It was amazing. I wish I could stay longer.
Aw, okay, cool. All right. All right. Yeah.
So we're gonna give a few more minutes, let people kind of come in, and any wins for this week?
I finally think I know what's wrong with me. So that's good.
That's a win.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's not as bad as I thought.
Of course not. We already knew that because we had already touched and agreed, so we knew that it was gonna be something minor. Any win, small or big, any win, any good news is a win. No?
I gotta make them.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. It is 6:35 and I don't want to keep you long. I want to make sure that I respect your time. So last week, we're gonna jump right in. Last week we talked about the offer to purchase. We actually finished up on offer to purchase. So this week we'll be talking about some addendums that go along with your contract that you may see. So the first one we'll be talking about is the lead-based paint. And so for those who have never been in this class, tell me a little bit about why we need this lead-based paint addendum that may occur in a transaction.
Well, I guess I should say something. Lead-based paint addendum is because it's for any property that is built prior to 1978. And lead-based paint is poisoning, I guess. If you eat it, breathe it, chew it, which most people don't do. But it is a form that is mandated for everybody because it's even in your mortgage papers. I don't know. Am I answering this wrong? Maybe not.
You are absolutely correct. Excuse me. Thank you, Annalise, for being the brave one to answer that question tonight. So, so for those who don't know me and Yachty, we like the interaction and the talk back. So talk back to us, raise your hand. It's very informal, but we just want to make sure that you understand these contracts. We try to make it fun as much as possible, but contracts are really kind of boring. So we can liven it up and go ahead and get through it pretty quickly. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me.
So I'm gonna put my 2 cents about lead-based paint.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is really, a protective document to make sure that you notified your client this property, was built prior to 1978. You have the option of either waiving the ability to test or we're accepting it, so that you would, I don't know where you find a lead-based paint tester because I've not ever done it. But I will say this, if you ever have an investor that you know is going to rent, right? So you are helping them acquire a property, because I have had this and it came up, you know, you don't want them to be renting to a child, and this is something that they never really, I mean, not to a child, you know what I'm saying, to a family that has children, and that this wasn't something that you kind of impressed upon them, that, you know, if you're going to be renting, you really need to probably pursue this and have it tested just in case. So,
Thank
so
you all.
that's my 2 cents, lead-based paint.
Thank you. Let me see. Am I on? Did I turn my camera off, or you just see
Curtis,
Sean's face?
Curtis is trying to get in.
Okay, let's see. Mm, I can't see. Get him in. Is Sean on here? Did he reclaim the host? No, 'cause I can't let him in. Let me see.
Did
I
you
can't
go in
see
as Sean or yourself?
Sean.
Oh,
I can't see where he is. Let me stop share and see. Okay, I can't see it behind the screen
oh,
share.
Curtis is in, so Sean must have let him in. Or did you let him in accidentally?
Okay. Okay, back to lead-based paint. So this is a pretty easy form to fill out. You just make sure that you have the property address. You want to have the seller's information and the buyer, depending on what side you're on. You want to make sure you fill this form out completely. If you're on the seller side, you want to make sure that you have your seller to initial this form and answer these questions appropriately. So you'll fill the seller information. If you're on the seller side, you'll have your seller initial right here. If you're on the buyer side, this will already be filled out from the listing agent. And then you'll have your buyer initial on this form right here. They'll initial right here, they'll initial here. If they waive this form, so this form is a very short form, so just take a moment to read it to its entirety and make sure that you understand what you are presenting to your clients. And that's really all. So you just have the signature, your buyer or seller, depending on the side again. And this part tends to confuse some people. They get confused with the verbiage of the selling agent and the listing agent. The listing agent has the actual listing. So if you're on the seller side, you'll sign you as a listing agent will sign here. The selling agent will be you as a buyer's agent. This is it's another form like this, but this is one of the forms that have this verbiage of the selling agent. And some people kind of get confused on the selling agent. So as a buyer's agent, you are selling or assisting in the sale of the property, and you would have your signature right here. Any questions about this document?
Quick question. So this form here is a 2-page document?
Yes.
Okay, so we back in Mass, this form is actually 11 pages for us. Okay. So big difference.
Yes, yes. So that's really interesting. So 11 pages. What all are on those 11 pages?
So on our 11 pages, because this here form on you guys, if you scroll up a little bit, is
Mhm.
very different from what our form looks like. Yeah, right there. So the first 10 pages for us is actually how this one here states that they have received the property notification, like they've received the lead paint notification, the pamphlet itself, and it's written what lead paint is all about. So it's very detailed in about how it is for houses built prior to 1978, what risk it can cause, how they, receive it, how you de-lead it. And then the last page, we have kind of similar to you guys here, where it's either they have knowledge of lead-based paint, or they don't have any knowledge, or they have knowledge of it present in the home. Or fourth one would be that it has been remediated in the form of a compliance certificate, or they have the lead paint test documents to provide. And then the buyers for us is, if you scroll down a little bit, please, the buyers for us they have four choices. One is that they have received copies of everything. Two, that they've received the pamphlet, and three, that they have received nothing from the seller, and fourth is that they have an actually choice to either waive their 10-day grace period to have it tested or conduct an inspection.
Wow, that's interesting to learn about the different states and how they handle these contracts.
Yeah.
Just to point out, thank you, Annalie, for sharing, the differences between where you're at and North Carolina. But just as a reminder, this is like a perfect situation where you are told to give a different document, and this happens in the OTP as well, where it's like you have to give copies of the sample offer to purchase, not that one, the buyer agency, where you have to give copies of the offer to purchase, and then you have to give copies of the professional services disclosure. And sometimes we forget to do that, so it's just like trying to remember that this part of doing this paper is then giving them the pamphlet. And some agents, I know at my previous brokerage, we were told to make them initial it. So either initial one page or initial all the pages as proof that they read it. That was just how we were told to do it. But, as long as you provide it, you've emailed it or something where they have access to it. And remember that sometimes in like things like DocuSign and Dotloop, they only see it for that moment. They're not getting the copy. So we have to go ahead and send it to them. So send it to them via email.
Thank you so much, Yadi. I just want to say hello to Shy, Curtis, Tyrikis. Welcome to Contract to Close.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello there. This is a great. I like it here.
Oh, thank you. So any more questions before we move on from lead-based paint?
No.
Okay. So then I'm going to go on to the next form. Oh, let me stop share. It doesn't want to leave. Hold on a second. Hmm. Can you all see my screen? What does it say on there?
The templates.
The templates? Okay. Well, mine is still showing. Let's see, mine is still showing the addendum from the lead-based paint. Let's see. I don't know why I MacBook sometimes doing Zoom. Oh, there we are. Maybe it would help if I put all my screens. Okay. So, okay. It was on my other computer. Okay. So then the next contract, sorry about that. So the next contract, excuse me, the next addendum is did we do this one, Yachty, or did we go over this one last week? I can't remember. Yachty? So, okay, so we'll go over the financing FHA addendum. I do think we touched on this, but if we did, then you'll just have some extra knowledge on the FHA and VA financing addendum. This is another addendum that you want to attach to your offer to purchase when you're submitting something for a FHA buyer or a VA. You want to make sure you fill out the property address. It's pretty self-explanatory. The seller information here, buyer. You definitely want to make sure you check these boxes. If it's FHA, and depending on the amount that you are submitting, you want to make sure you put that in there. And I'll let Yadi explain why you need to do that. Our lovely broker in charge.
Well, this is a document that sometimes comes over to me without an amount. And one of the concerns with that, like some agents, they're great. And they're like, hey, I know you forgot to put it in. But there are agents that are not. And I have had agents that hold me to the fire on a document. And so if this has no amount, you're really not telling them what is the maximum amount that, or what is the minimum amount, right, that the appraisal can come back at. I know I filled this out one time and we knew we were willing to pay 3,000 over or something. So I filled it out. I backed out that number. It ended up not appraising. Oh, I did share this story. It ended up not appraising. It appraised like $30,000 lower or something crazy. And I was able to use this document to get out of it. But the reason why that was important was because the listing agent brought down the amount all the way to, I don't know, $2,000 away from appraisal price. And my client was able to use this document to say, no, I no longer want to purchase this property, because she had actually had her eye on a new construction property that came back on market. So she no longer even wanted the property at that point. So she used this document because it didn't appraise. I think we had it at 297 or something like that. And it didn't appraise at all, like way off. And then you get your earnest money back, even if you're past the due diligence period. So you know how typically you have to be within due diligence to get your money back? Well, this one actually protects you. So even if the due diligence period expires and the appraisal comes back afterwards, you can still get the earnest money back and walk away as long as it hasn't appraised. So this is a really important document, and that amount in there is key, because if you don't have an amount in there, then there's nothing that you can really say about the document, especially when you have an agent that's like difficult or black and white, or their clients are difficult. You know, it may not be them, it may be their client. And when they look at this document, if it's empty, that's on you. And then you may have to end up paying somebody's earnest money. And that right there, like when I have to pay for stuff, I'm upset. So, you know, if the earnest money was 1,000 and they lost it because this wasn't filled out, you might be the one coughing up the $1,000.
So that's something that the listing agent is putting in that amount.
Is that Shy?
Yeah.
Oh, this is put in by the buyer's agent. So this is a document that goes attached to your offer to purchase. If you are using an FHA loan or VA loan, you have to tick a box in a certain category on the offer to purchase that indicates that there's another form that complements the offer to purchase, which I always call the OTP. So you do tick that, and then they know, okay, there's another form. And of course, if you send it, they know, but it's good to have everything match.
Mhm.
And
Thank you,
then once you get the appraisal, do you have to redo it? Like once you get,
No, you don't redo it. That's the purpose of this document, is to make sure, and it goes together with your offer to purchase. This is the document that says, like, if it doesn't appraise at this amount, we don't have to move forward. You can move forward if you want to, if the client has the money. If they have, the $10,000 gap or the 20,000, it's not stopping them from moving forward, but it's protecting them, because often FHA clients do not have more than their 3.5% plus their closing. Or, VA clients, I mean, if they're disabled, they may not be putting anything, right? They may not even be doing the funding fee. And this is more like Curtis's area. Curtis, can you explain the VA part of it?
Hey, how you going?
Hey.
Hey, so, but no, it's the same. It's just that last, document that protects you. Now, the interesting part is it's only protecting your earnest money, as you can tell, and earnest money was a bigger element, a few years ago, where you would do 500, 250 due diligence, and you do $2,000 to $3,000 earnest. So you're really protecting that larger sum of your upfront. But a lot of people right now aren't even doing earnest money at all. And if so, it's probably equal to the due diligence. So, but it protects both clients both ways in the event that they don't have that gap, and they can't, and it just protects them the long way. And it prohibits people from trying to overmarket their properties. Once they see that FHA they say, oh, dang, okay, we got to be realistic. Whether other sides, they try to milk the conventional buyers at times. So,
And Curtis, can you take this opportunity also to explain Tidewater? Because the Tidewater will kind of impact this if you had to use it.
okay. So, whenever you are purchasing a home, the lender is always going to request an appraisal for the property. The buyer pays for it, but it's a lender requirement, and the appraiser pretty much works for the lender. Now, in a conventional home, the appraiser is just going to send you value. He's not going to ask you any questions. He's not going to care much about anything. He's just going to say, this is my opinion. Y'all go with this and figure it out. In regards to a FHA VA, there's something called Tidewater, where they will send out an email to the appraiser will email the lender, and the lender will notify the buyer agent and the seller agent. We are under Tidewater. This is expressing that the appraised value of the home is less than your current contract price. This affords the seller and buyer, depending on how motivated you are, to submit comparables to justify that current contract price. Seller says, "Hey, I'm selling my house for 250. We are currently under contract for 250." Appraisal says, Appraiser says, "Hey, it's not 250. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I am going to give you a chance to give me proof to validate your price." The appraiser will give you 72 hours to provide that proof. At the conclusion of that, they will give you another final appraisal, and that is it. Right? They say, hey, I looked at the comps that you gave me. I looked at what you thought about things. And then that's when he'll give that final value. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it doesn't do much of any good, but that's a Tidewater in a shell. Now, why would a buyer, try to submit comps to validate that price? In the previous market, sellers would always come down. It was just, hey, if I want to sell my house, I'm going to come down. Current market says if you don't make value, buyer paying cash out of pocket. So that's when you are working together with their selling agent to validate this price sometimes, to really try to make sure your client is not coming out of pocket, because a seller would just be like, oh, you can't pay that difference? Oh, goodbye. So that's just a small hint to why you should always have a positive working relationship listing and selling agents. So
And during COVID, right, Alicia, I mean, we just saw basically they didn't even want FHA loans or VA loans. They were just like, no, thank you. We'll do cash and conventional instead because of this, right? This was the thing that was I mean, if you had somebody offer 50,000 over, you knew it wasn't going to appraise, or most likely it wasn't going to. So they didn't want these types of loans at that juncture because it was hurting the seller in terms of being able to get the maximum dollar with all those bidding wars that were going on.
Right. Thank you so much, Curtis, for giving us that insight, and Yadi for being on here. Yeah, I cannot say this enough. Like, I've never been anywhere where the broker in charge who handles compliance is telling you how to fill out these forms. Like, I've never been in a place where we had that. So this is a great space that where you know how to fill out these forms. If you have any questions, she is available. I'm available, and you have seasoned agents on here. You have new agents, and it's just wonderful. I really, really appreciate the feedback. Any more questions on this form? No. And again, thank you, Curtis, because you taught me something about Tidewater. That's something that we don't experience that much of on this side. You know, sometimes I've had a couple VA buyers, but not as many as you all deal with in your area.
oh yeah, no problem. And just another side note, it to that, it's probably not mandatory, or firm policy to provide a CMA for your buyer before submitting an offer and for your listing before putting it on the market. But if you are going to do that, I would recommend you add that to your list of things to do, especially if you know you have a VA or FHA, because when that Tidewater comes, praying that it doesn't, but when it does, you already got your comps on standby. You already got your validated price on standby. You already can strongly justify your list price. So you just want to be ready in that regard. So just make it a good practice to do those CMAs in the early portion of your transaction.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
And another point to that is I think when I had that experience where the appraisal price was so different, and I did comp it, but I didn't comp it correctly. So however I comped it, it was fine for the area, but you can't compare new construction to resale. Like they're two different beasts. And so it made sense for the area, but not for the subdivision. So really like focus your comp as close as possible to the property, because they're going to go for that subdivision first if the property is within a subdivision. I remember, actually, it's so funny because later on she tried to recruit me to her firm. But anyway, I remember there was a lady. I knew who she was because she had been at my brokerage at one point, and she had a property price for 300. I looked it up. I was like, there's nothing in the area that is justified by this price. Like everything was like 270, 275. And I remember calling her and saying, hey, how did you arrive at this number? Like everything in your area is 270, 275. And she was like, somebody's going to pay for it. And I was like, okay, well, we're not, we're not going to do that because we don't have the ability to cover the gap. And it did sell. So if it goes cash or conventional with 20%, it's possible that you can get the difference, but I know my client couldn't do it. And you don't want your client losing money because you didn't do what Curtis just said. Comp the property before you submit that offer, because the appraiser is going to use those comps to justify the price. So, and that's an easy thing to do before you go under contract.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we'll go into the next addendum. And I just want to say this too for those who have not written a lot of contracts. Whenever you're getting ready to have an offer to purchase, and it truly is exciting to get an offer, just make sure you take your time and pay attention. Don't omit these things. If you know that it's FHA and VA, you know something else needs to accompany it. If the house is older than 1978, you want to make sure that you know they need something else. So try to keep that in the back of your mind. It's easy to forget if you're in a hurry. Just take your time. Know that it's something else needs to be attached because it's definitely, we advocate for our clients. So the last one we'll go over is, and we have not used this one a lot in this market, but in the other markets we had to use these to hopefully get our offer accepted in that crazy, crazy market. So this is the backup contract addendum. Does anyone want to explain why we need this or why we would need this contract addendum?
You want me to do it?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So from my understanding, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, the backup contract really comes in when you have that client that has a very particular home. I mean, they're like deadly in love, and the house is pending, right? You can always reach out to a seller of a pending house and just say, "Hey, my client really loves the house. This is the one. Please let me know if it fall through. Things fall through all the time, but being able to put a backup offer in is being able to say, "Hey, if it falls through, we are the next in line, guaranteed." Right? So it's like, don't notify me at this point. You got a standing contract on the table for your seller if you're the seller side, in case things get weird, but for your buyer because they really love that home and they say, I don't want to look at nothing else. I'm willing to wait and see what happens with this one. You can submit an offer and have it on the table, pronto. So, but also the other side to it is if you do that and you're still on the market looking with your client, don't submit another offer out there and then they end up accepting your backup offer and your other offer at the same time because now your client's contractually bound to two homes. So you just have to use it and be mindful. But if there's that final home on that 10 acres in that place and they have the patience, that's what you would use it for.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was explained perfectly. Thank you. So I'll tell you a quick story that's happened to me. I had a client who really loved this house and she had been looking for a while and she was so frustrated. So when she found this home by her being a gardener, it had the land, it had everything she needed. Not only did it have the land that she wanted to grow her vegetables and her flowers, it also had two outbuildings that stayed with the property. She was like, this is it. I need this for my gardening tools. This is what I need. I want this home. She said, can you put an offer in on it? Put an offer in on the home, well, a backup contracts to the home. And she was just thinking, you know what? I'm probably not going to get it. I said, well, you never know. Things happen all the time. So she was like, you know what? If I don't get that home, I'm just done looking. I don't want to look any longer. And at about 9 o'clock one Saturday morning, I get an email telling me that the other contract fell through and she was able to get the home that she really loved. So this was something that really, really helped my client out and get her the house that she loved. I actually had an opportunity to take her a cucumber plant as her closing gift. That's all she wanted was another a cucumber plant. Any questions about this document?
So this document isn't valid unless it's signed by the seller. Like it's not just you submitting this, you're not the backup. You're only the backup if the seller accepts it. I've done this only once on the South Carolina side. I've never done it on the North Carolina side. But I did see Selling Sunset. I think I told somebody this. And the the little twins or whatever and the I forget their names, but anyway, the owners, they had a backup offer on something that one of their other agents was, had an offer on. And they used the backup offer because the backup offer was higher than the original offer. And the original person wanted a bunch of repairs. And they were like, nope, we're not doing the repairs. And they did it on purpose because they knew they had the backup offer. So, this can be used. You could actually entice somebody with the backup offer. Of course, they cannot breach right? They cannot just give you the property while they're in contract with someone else. But if it comes to repairs or appraisal or something like that, and they get into it, having that backup offer does allow them to make decisions that they otherwise wouldn't have made. The other thing is that when you have, and there was a guy that I worked with, and he experienced 3 times the property fell out of contract. And so if he would have had a backup offer, he wouldn't have had that issue because the backup offer would have just, since it was already signed, it would have taken the first position and then they already would have been on their way to closing. So this is really good. Sean uses this all the time, by the way. He'll say like, hey, it's under contract, but go ahead, do the open house and take backup offers. So don't be afraid to tell people like we're accepting backup offers, because your seller is going to love you if it falls out of contract and you already have it under contract right away.
Thank you so much, Yadi. Tariq has had a question.
Yes, ma'am. So with that backup offer, is that going to is a seller able to accept 2 backup offers?
You want to answer that, or you want me, Yadi?
You answer it. I don't even know the answer to that. That's the
I
great
was gonna
question.
say, I was gonna say, I don't know.
What?
I've never,
A backup
I
car
really,
back.
That's a
I mean,
great, I like that.
once you start signing, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can probably put them in order, but I don't
Right.
really think somebody would submit a backup offer if they're the third in line. It really wouldn't make no sense at that point. Um, so I could definitely ask, the commission. I was actually on a meeting with them earlier today, but I'll ask. But I've never seen somebody that hungry for a property to where they were like, I'll be third in line.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. That's a good question.
Quick
Anyone
question:
else have more questions?
is the
Wait, do
seller?
you know the answer, Alicia?
I don't know the answer, but I would safely assume that the answer would be no, because then if the seller accepts 2 offers, then wouldn't they be obligated to give the home to 2 people?
No, it would have to be like first position, second
First
position. That's the
position,
only
second.
thing yeah.
Okay, so no, I don't know the answer to
Does
that.
it
So
have,
that
does it
sounds
have
right.
numbers? Does it have numbers at the top? No.
No.
Yeah, Yadi, that was more so where I was going with that, like position wise. Like, okay, yeah, say for example, the first backup offer falls through. So now I've got a second backup offer. You know what I mean? So that's more so where I was thinking in terms of that.
Now
I'd say that,
builders do that.
yeah. The biggest thing about it is the time frame too, because you're looking at like in order for a contract to fall through, you're rocking a good 30, 45 days, and then you're doing another 30, 45. So you'd be looking at about 3 to 4 months to 6 months of underwriting and effort. I would wonder if somebody would be sitting there that long, or even you as an agent, and cutting themselves off the market because, like I said, they can't really be looking unless this first backup offer just moves on.
Builders do that though.
Got it.
I've gotten a call saying like, hey, the first person couldn't get like permission to work remotely or whatever, so you guys won. And I'm like, okay. So builders do go down the line of like, who's next?
Thank you all so much. So the reason why we go over these addendums, because we can enter into a market overnight. So we can be in a buyer's market, and then we start to see an uptick, and then we're going back into a seller's market. I do think that we are going back into that market. House was coming soon on Saturday. The first day we saw the home, had a couple people saw the home while we were there. Reached out to the listing agent, asked her, what's your highest and best? She said, oh, we don't have one. And this was at about 1 o'clock. She said, go ahead and submit the offer. Before I can submit the offer, she was like, hurry up and send me the offer by 6 o'clock because we got 2 offers already on the table. So I'm scrambling trying to get an offer. Of course, we did not get that offer, but I'm starting to see it's starting to uptick some as far as, the market starting to change. So you may have to use this backup offer. So we won't go over all the addendums. It's all these addendums are like apps. So, there's an app for that. There's an addendum for that. So we have so many addendums based on whatever scenario that you may encounter in the real estate transaction. But the next thing that we'll go to is exclusive right to sell. So now we're going to listings, listing agreement.
Hey, you don't want to do the DDRA?
Thank you. Thank you so much. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's why I love Yadi being on here. So she keeps me.
And
So,
4T, the 4T and the DDRA are going to be used a lot.
oh, so we did the 14 last time. You want me to go over it again?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll go to DDRA. Sorry. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being my accountability partner. If you don't have one, get you one. So let me get the DDRA. That's very important.
Hey, Alicia.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Bianca.
Hey. So at the end, you guys open it up for any, like, will you guys open it up for any off-topic questions for contracts? Like, in terms of what you didn't go over today, maybe it's from a different day. I don't want to get it off topic.
If you have some additional questions, we can stay a little bit longer to answer some of those questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. So this one is the 3T due diligence request and agreement, the DDRA. And this is a very important document that you're going to use in every transaction if you are dealing with due diligence. If you waive the due diligence period, then you don't have to worry about this document. I'm sorry, Tyreek, did you have another question or you just didn't lower your hand? Okay.
My bad. My bad.
It's okay. I just want to make sure I didn't overlook you. So this form is, you have submitted your offer. Your offer has been accepted. Your client is now entering into a due diligence period. You have scheduled the inspection. The inspector has given you a report. And now you're asking the seller to repair some things that you and your buyer feel like it's important for you to move forward in this property. In that case, this is where you would use this form to ask them if they would fix any of these things. Of course, you know that the seller does not have to repair anything. However, sometimes ethically they may go ahead and do it if they want the home to be sold, especially depending on the market. So of course you fill it out. The buyer's here, the seller's information, property address. And in this box, you wouldn't just type up what you want. You would actually utilize the home inspector form. It has numbers on it. And whatever that number is, you would put it in this box. So if you're asking them to repair the window, if the window is 1.1, you'll type in 1.1. And however many items that you and your buyer comes to an agreement that they want you to ask to be fixed, you will put it in this box. Now, sometimes that list is very large. I currently have one that all the items didn't even fit in this box. So we had to almost get another page, but we made it fit. I told them we can't ask for everything. Let's just be realistic and just some of the things they're going to say no to. So they agreed to take some of the things out of the box. Any questions before I continue?
Yeah, I have a question actually.
Sure.
So the only problem I see with that is if you number it in this box that you're talking about here, that means you would have to submit the inspection report to them.
Yes.
So, but you're not obligated to do so. So wouldn't it be easier to just spell out in details exactly what you want done?
I will let Yadi answer that question. Compliance-wise, she's going to give you the compliance answer.
Okay, so before I give you the answer, Annalie, just want to point out a couple of things just because I know we have some newer agents on here. if you're doing a due diligence request, remember that the priority is if you have a FHA or VA, for example, and conventional, I found out the other day that conventional actually does ask for repairs sometimes. I was like shocked. Prioritize the ones that need to be repaired for purposes of the loan going through. Because if you don't repair those, the lender will not move the loan forward. So that's number one. I like to wait until appraisal comes back. Of course, you know, like it's a judgment call. So, you know, like don't take what I'm saying literally. If appraisal is coming back in a few days and you still have time within your due diligence, do check appraisal first. Because God forbid that appraisal doesn't come back right and you've already submitted this document, sometimes the seller is annoyed, right? They're like, oh, like now your appraisal is off and you're asking for items. So sometimes I prioritize the appraisal because I know I can't move forward unless they work with me on appraisal. So I'm going to either lessen this list or I'm going to eliminate it. So that's just how I work. I mean, y'all don't have to do that. That's just how I do it because I think it's easier for you to get the seller to agree to drop to appraisal price. But again, prioritize the stuff that the lender has said have to get fixed. And then, you know what I mean? Like if they start knocking some things down, I mean, they're not going to not do the stuff that the lender, unless they don't want the loan to go through. So Curtis, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I agree on some of the things that you were saying for sure. Direct relation to her question, it is not mandatory to submit the inspection report to the other side. Why? Because some people feel like the listing, if it falls through, now you've given them a free report, right? Now, mind you, it's always a gamble, but on the DDR request, it literally says, does your buyer give you permission to release it? And if your buyer agrees, then there's no problem with it. Now, in regards to filling out the blocks, I type things wrong, so I copy and paste. I go to my inspection report, I'll copy and paste one tag A, tag B3, where it says repair, replace, front dryer screen or whatever the case might be. I do that for verbiage. So it's not just the code number, it's the description number and what I'm requesting, right? So there's no confusion on exactly what I requested. If it's only a few items, then I can do a screenshot from my computer and submit proof via email with this document to the listing agent or to the listing agent saying, hey, I'm requesting here. Here's a snapshot from the report. So they're not getting the full report, but they're getting the pieces of the report that I find most critical with visual images. Because I've submitted repair requests without that, and I said repair shutters. This lady went in the bathroom, replaced a shutter around the bathroom sink or something, and left the shutters on the outside of the house undone because she said, well, you didn't specify which ones. So she picked the most inexpensive ones, right? So you want to have a visual reference with a specific number reference and a description to ensure accuracy. If you don't want to send the full report, but you can send it with the permission of your buyer.
So I'll add to that. So I do the numbers. I do the description if it's short. So I'm like, hey, I'm taking the numbers, description, putting it in there. 9 times out of 10, my seller is going to give me permission to send the inspection report. However, Alicia and I use the same exact home inspector, and he allows you to, and I'm pretty sure anybody who uses home gauge has this ability where they allow you to build a repair list. So they allow you to take pieces of the inspection report, like Curtis, he's doing it with a screenshot. We can actually move those items over. So they all are like in a list. So now they haven't seen the whole report. They've only seen the ones that need repairs. So you can do that as well. The upside of giving the inspection report, right, is like, hey, here's a material fact. If you don't fix it, and I had somebody challenge me like that, like, hey, if you don't go ahead and give us this credit or whatever, you're gonna have to share this material fact because now we gave it to you, right? So now you know that, whatever, there's a trust issue with the trust is, whatever, something, now you've revealed it. So sometimes you can use this to, kind of, negotiate or like kind of force their hands because now they have to reveal this to any other buyer. So.
Thank you, Yadi. I want to go back to the first thing you said about waiting for the appraisal. Of course, we all learn when you hear each other's stories. So really quick, I am currently under contract with a client, and the lender requested an appraiser. So the appraiser scheduled it, confirmed it, but never showed up. So we're waiting. We're almost at our due diligence period, and we're waiting for this appraiser. We're like, okay, what is going on? What's taking so long? The seller will not sign the due diligence because they're waiting for the appraiser to come back. So we had to, of course, extend the due diligence, waiting for the appraiser again to make sure that we was able to get the appraisal back. We finally got it back, and everything that we asked for initially, it came back, the appraisal came back subject to. Of course, like Yadi said, waiting for the appraiser is so important because now they're not going to fix those items that we were originally asking for. Now they have to fix those things subject to make sure they can get the deal done. So definitely waiting for the appraisal is best practice, because had they signed off on it and we needed those items fixed that was subject to, which actually cost more than those small repairs that we were asking for. And they say, you know what, tell them don't worry about it. Fix those other items. Just go ahead and get that done and we'll just roll with it. Any questions about this document?
Can I add something?
Yeah, absolutely.
In support of what you were saying, we get paid to strategize, to be able to assess a situation and make the best determination. You get a client that want to offer under, they want to haggle for over a few $100s up front, and then they lose their fighting power on the back end when they need something. So you want to be able to strongly advise a strategy from start to finish with your client that's going to be in their best interest, right? Um, Outside of adding to that block, and this is probably case by case or area by area, but my repair request would always start with buyer is requesting that seller repair, replace by licensed contractor, licensed this, certified this. Put no specifications for qualifications prohibits them from using a handyman or doing it themselves, depending on what it is, right? Some things you don't mind the handyman just going in fixing some wood, but if you put licensed, certified, that requires them to show receipts, you know, so you don't get somebody's cousin going in there fixing it and then they can't prove that it was done by a legitimate source. So you can add that verbiage. It can stress the transaction because the appraiser and the lender are going to be like, show me that license, right? So don't, you know, strategy. Just kind of be mindful that that's an option depending on the transaction.
I'm going to add to that, Curtis, what you said. So on my contract, if I were to ask for any repairs, it always states that repairs to be conducted by a licensed professional with proof of receipt. So it kind of limits out their, what type of a license they are, but they have to show, the sellers has to show that the work was done by a professional. And that's what I have always done. And I'm sorry to interrupt here. That, I'm looking at all these contracts that you guys are going over. So to me, these are, some of these are a little bit different language and wording from what I'm used to. But, I have done contracts in mass for 19 years. So it's very similar, but it's interesting to listen to what everybody has to say, and learning some new stuff that you guys are implementing. That was it.
Thank you,
In
Anna.
terms of, I know this happened to me recently with one of our agents. I wish he was here to talk about it, but you can also do a reinspection. So if you're if you're nervous about them having actually done the work correctly or, to the satisfaction of the home inspector, our inspector, I think, Alicia, he's like 160, 175, something like that. He'll come back out and check the ones that he shared that needed repairing and replacing and whatever. And he'll look at them again to see that the work was done. I actually had this done and the work wasn't done. So I could have stopped the closing, but then I was like, this is just going to be like, take forever, so definitely, we ended up just moving forward. And then I had a handyman fix some of the things that were left because they made mistakes on the things that they were supposed to repair. But you could do a reinspection just to be sure, because some things you can tell, like caulking or something, you could tell, but some things you can't. So you might need a professional opinion. And it's not that much more for that security of knowing that it was done correctly. And you can use it to tell the attorney, like, hey, we can't move forward because these repairs weren't done. So.
Any more questions? Feedback? No? So this is the due diligence request agreement form. It is almost 7:30, so I try to respect your time. We won't go into the listing until next week, so we'll start fresh in the listings. But if you had any questions about any other contract, anything that we did not discuss, we can open up this time for additional questions and comments. Give us some feedback. We like conversation. Contracts is exciting, right? She said no. No, it's not exciting. It is exciting when you got a contract because you are knowing
it's
that
exciting when you get paid.
but this is the only way you can get paid is get through the contract.
Alicia likes the contract. I'm like, I don't. I know Bianca has some questions, right? Where'd she go?
Bianca, you had some
Not here.
questions? I think she left. Oh, okay. Anyone else had any questions? This is your time to ask about anything contract related, or if you had something to share.
I love what Curtis said, which is we need to strategize. I just had a situation where I was trying to get a home warranty or whatever. Like I was fighting the agent, like left and right. But we had a good rapport though. And I was like, I want a home warranty. I want a home warranty. Go back to your seller. Then just to get notified by my lender that like, we got a hard stop. She needs more time to prove her income. And I'm like, hey, forget the home warranty. Fill out this extension for me because I need more time to be able to get these documents in order. And we really did have a good rapport, so he went ahead and did it. But I mean, he encouraged his seller to do it. But what I'm saying is like sometimes you gotta like switch strategies because the first one wasn't working, and I needed that listing agent to work with me once the income thing happens. So do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. You have to tell your client, we're not getting a home warranty, we're not getting a credit. We need time to get this lender situation together. Unless they don't want to move forward, then that's a whole nother scenario.
You was gonna say something, Curtis?
No, I was gonna say, I've definitely had clients fighting hard for this closing cost. We want all that closing cost. The inspection report came back. They said we not touching nothing if the lender don't ask for it, and that's how it was. Appraisal came back clean, and they had a messy house because everything ain't appraisal level, requirements. They got their closing costs, but they milked the cow, irritate the other side. You know, the biggest thing that people need to focus on is yes, we are on opposite sides, but it's a win-win. Believe in a win-win. They're selling a great product at a decent price. You're buying a great product at a good price. Let's just focus on both sides coming together and everybody winning. Football. and stop trying to be the winner. Oh, I want to win. I want to get more than them. It's a win-win, and that can be done, and everybody benefit.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, that is so true about wanting to get to the end, wanting to get to the closing table because they're fighting for their clients. I'm fighting for mine. And we had to extend 2 times. And the second time he told us, he said, well, we're not going to extend the contract. I mean, this is not our fault that your appraisal is delayed. Like we've been waiting for it. Now you want us to do all these repairs and we're 13 days from closing. Like, I don't know what you want us to do, but we're not doing anything. And so we had to negotiate and we go back and forth. So I said, listen, he would not answer my phone calls. He would only text me. And so he was trying to negotiate something. I said, in order for us to have a conversation, I need to have a conversation. We both want this to go through. We both want to win for our clients. I would like for you to give me a phone call so we can discuss these options. He gave me a phone call and we were able to converse and able to get it extended. Like Yadi said, sometimes you got to be like, listen, like I know I'm not being a jerk, but let's go ahead and get it together. So we did. I had to fight for my client. We was fighting hard. We was pushing back, but fingers crossed we get to the closing table.
Plus, I think another thing too, I think that is important is number one priority is educate your clients beforehand. Educate your clients beforehand, before you go into contract, before you start looking at houses, before you're selling the house. And when you run into these complications or situations where you get, sellers wants one thing, buyers wants another thing, if you could bring it to your client's perspective and attention to say, listen, it is really about the seller and the buyer, not about a seller agent or a listing agent. We are the ones that are guiding our clients to the finish line and to the closing table. And I think it is important to sometimes step back as a realtor or broker to say it is not has nothing to do about me, right? It's not about me, it's about the client and what's best for them. Because sometimes I know I can get very vicious and angry and want to be like, no, we're gonna win. But it's not like we're gonna win, it's more like feeling that I got to do what I can for my client to get the best possible outcome. But sometimes the best possible outcome isn't necessarily what we think, because if you ask your clients, the client might have a different version of what the outcome is. So I think that's really the primary things to talk about. It's about the clients, not about us, and educate them beforehand. And if you do, 90% of the time you're going to have a smooth transaction.
Thank you, Annalise. Anyone else have anything they want to add?
I think also that not being like, I am almost never definitive, right? Like I never say this is going to happen because I have seen some strange things happen. So I know of a client who wanted to really, really underbid, and this house had been sitting on the market for a while. And she told the agent, put in this number. And the agent was like, they're not going to take that number. And she was like, put in the number. She put in the number and they took it. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, put in the number. If it does, I don't think it's going to work. I don't say like, it's not going to work. Like, this is nope. I don't think they'll take it. And you might upset the seller, prep them for that. But if that's the number you want to go in at, we'll go in at that number. Because sometimes we push back and they were right. Like I've learned the hard way that sometimes the buyer is right. So we are professionals, but based on motivation, like we don't know. Those people could be, needing to move out of town, having a family emergency. Like we just don't know the motivation that somebody has to actually sell their home quick, fast, and without a whole lot of complication.
Right. I think that whenever like Annalise was saying and Yadi, I try to reach out to the listing agent. I like to verbally talk to them in the beginning, like whatever the conversation, just try to build that rapport because like Annalise and Yachty and Curtis is saying, you never know what you're going to encounter. But if you've already built that rapport in the beginning, typically they do tend to kind of work with you and understand where you're coming from, making sure you're advocating for your client. And I do feel that we're able to be where we are now because we established that rapport in the beginning. We could not have, we had no idea this would happen, but because we had that rapport from the beginning, it was a little bit easier to be able to have that conversation and some of those hard conversations that we sometimes try to avoid. Any more questions? This is fun. I enjoy these classes. I enjoy getting a chance to hear all the stories and I still learn. I'm learning every single day. I learn from everyone around me, new, seasoned. I'm just a sponge. I'm willing to learn as much as I can. Any more questions from anyone about anything? No? Okay. So if you have a contract and you get stuck, so you're saying that if you call us at 6 p.m. because you don't know what to do and we don't answer, this is the time to ask the questions. Shy is laughing.
Hey,
She was like, "Wait a minute, let me see. I might need to say something."
hey, Alicia, can I give a like just a quick feedback though?
Absolutely, yes, please.
Um, I really, really love the pace of this training because it's not too overwhelming. It's not too much at one time. So I really, really love that pace. So kudos.
Thank you, thank you. We really try hard to make it fun as much as we can, of course, as much as you can. But we know that that's a lot, and it is like drinking through a fire hose. But we want people to feel comfortable when they do get these contracts. Even it's okay, Shy. I saw the look on your face, but it's okay. If you do call at 6 o'clock on a Sunday and you need help, that's fine. Someone is going to help you. But at least you have the basic information to go ahead and get started, even if you need us to just check it and say, you know what, I feel confident in what I'm doing, but can you just look at it really quick? And we'll do that for you if we do have the time, depending on the urgency that you have for your client. So we got you, Shy. Don't be too nervous. You can call on us.
I definitely will. I'm sure I will.
Okay,
That's
so
good.
sure, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do not send any document to the other side of the transaction without it being reviewed by somebody you trust. Do not, because it's too many of us, and I have seen too many documents, too many contracts that I've rewritten and sent back. And I ask myself, where is their broker in charge? How did they allow this all the way over to me without review? And this is early in my career. So we got too many of us, and it's too easy. So do not send anything to the other side that you're not sure about. Because there's plenty of time in a real estate transaction. Everything can be modified, adjusted, delayed, or paid for, you know. But once a failure is done, you can't take that back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Curtis. And so, with that being said, if no one else has any questions, we'll go ahead and end, and we'll be back next Wednesday going into the listing agreement. So, for those who are want to list to last, we'll definitely be going over the listing agreements, addendums, how that contract may look. Of course, we're going to share our stories, and so you can remember it. But like Curtis said, about the contracts and making sure that it's done correctly, just let us know. We're here to help you. And also remember that everything in real estate is what, Yachty? What's my word? What's my new word? So you get bonus points for paying attention. So I hope you're paying attention from the last time from this time. So what's the new word?
Is
Shy,
that
will you
like
know?
fix? What was that thing you said? Oh Lord,
Now, see, it's bonus points. See, the bonus.
fixatable or something like that.
No,
What is
no.
it?
I gotta see if Jada was on our call last time. Let's see if she remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of it. I'm on the lines of Yachty, but I can't remember.
I missed that one.
Okay, so we give out bonus points. You know, your bonus points could be a review at 8 o'clock at night, or it could be, some type of treat. Just know that we give out bonus points. So the word is everything in real estate is figure outable. That is not in your dictionary. That is my
I said the
word.
same thing.
Figure outable. That's like a tongue twister. It's like
Figure outable.
you gotta say it fast. Say it fast.
Curtis, I just want to say that they could send me their documents if they want to. Definitely send it to me before you send it out, especially if you're new, you've never written it. My big did it for me. He sat with me my first time and went through it. So I have no problem doing it.
See, I'm a quick learner. So once I go through it the first time, then I'll be pretty confident, but I'll still be like, check it for me.
I had to buy a lot of coffee and breakfast because I'm like, hey, 7 a.m., go over this with me. I'll be at your house. Hey, meet me at Starbucks. Look, I needed their eyes on everything. So I paid for it, but it's fine.
Yeah. So that's the best way to learn too, is just do it. Even if you mess up, just do it. And that way you get comfortable with it. And then we'll check and make sure it's correct. So now he feels like he is a professional now because Rick was like, show how to do this. Nope. It's figure outable. Go through it and let me check it. So what's the word before we go? Everything in
Figure
real estate?
outable.
Figure
outable.
Figure outable.
Figure outable.
If we can figure it out in real estate. You all have a great night. I will see you all next week. Bye.